This is Chris Wright, and I'm going to call the meeting of the Audit and Internal Controls Committee to order at 6:01 on April 21st. I would point out for the record, for those listening to the replay, that all of the directors are on the call for the committee meeting and have an opportunity to ask any questions should they have any. That may result in the general meeting in either less or no Q&A, not for lack of interest, but because of prior interaction. With that, I will. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our October 15th meeting, so I could use a motion for that from either Adam Barsky or Lester Petraka.
Motion, so moved.
Seconded. Made and second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And I vote aye, and the minutes are approved. The second item on the agenda is the review and approval of our 2019 audited financial statements. Carl Dreyer will walk us through that. I assume RSM will interact as well. I may have a question or two for both of them, and then we can have questions from the members of the committee and, of course, anyone else on the board who cares to. So, Carl, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I prepared the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019, with the assistance of Albrecht, Vigiano, and Zurich, our outside accountants. I'll let Jen Katz, our engagement partner, take you through our financial statements in greater detail if you wish, but I'll summarize our results. Our net position improved by $127,655,000, which was primarily brought about by paying $123.5 million in debt with sales tax receipts. This trend will continue as we withhold from sales tax receipts to service our debt. Our net position is now negative $408,096,000 and will continue to decrease as we continue to reduce our outstanding debt, which was $411,979,000 at the end of last year. None of the four new accounting pronouncements that were promulgated in 2019 had a material effect on our financial statements. I'm happy to answer any questions before asking Jen to join the presentation.
Great, Carl, and I will only observe that it's noteworthy that the total outstanding indebtedness of NYFA today, which was entered into on behalf of the county originally at $3 billion, is now paid down to under $500 million at $412 million. It's a noteworthy distinction, and although we may, and the state legislation may have given us the opportunity to borrow more, we have been able to help the county lower its indebtedness by $2.6 billion since inception. And Jen, why don't you walk us through anything relevant for us? Also, for the folks listening on the phone or who may listen to the replay, members of the committee may or may not have extensive questions because we have received the materials in advance and have had an opportunity to review them and are familiar with their contents. So, Jen, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. So the only thing I want to add to what Carl just mentioned about the financial statements is that footnote 13 addresses subsequent events. It's just important to highlight this because there is a paragraph about COVID-19. This is fairly standard language that is going into just about every single financial statement that's being issued during this time. And it's just meant to address the uncertainty with everything going on right now. It's not concluding anything. It's simply saying, you know, this is what's happening. It's too early to tell what the impact could be, but the authority doesn't think it will severely, you know, impact the organization.
And Jen, I would add that it's consistent with, since sometimes our securities are sold in markets, it is consistent from what I've read with some of the guidance that the SEC Division of Corporate Finance has produced for public companies. So it does appear to be appropriate under the circumstances.
Thank you for adding that. Yep, absolutely. And then outside of that, you know, we'll walk through the required communications, and we're joined by Melissa Quinn as well, who's been the manager working side by side with me on your audit for many years now, and since we're on the call, she'll have a chance to present. But what I do want to note is that, you know, the authority did adopt some of the pronouncements that were out there this year, GASB 83, 84, 88, and 90 that you already saw in the materials that were distributed. But now the GASB put out an exposure draft on April 15th, so just last week, that is seeking to delay the effective dates of a lot of the GASBs that are out there, beginning with 83 up through GASB 93, and now they actually just issued 94 as well. So these statements were already adopted. There was really no significant impact, as Carl mentioned, so that's fine as is. But on the horizon, GASB 87 related to leases, it's very likely that's going to be deferred yet another year. So we're going to just monitor that for you, and we'll speak with management at the authority once action is taken by the GASB. Right now it's just exposure draft. So I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that.
Thank you, Jen. And I think if you could involve us or management in the decision on that, I think lease accounting for us may not be such a big deal given that we have a small lease on a small office building and some office equipment. It might be just as easy to adopt it as it would be to disclose that we're delaying. But we can make that judgment when we have the facts.
Yeah, and a lot of times when an organization is a component unit of a primary government, sometimes the primary government will dictate what year something should be adopted. So we'll coordinate.
Right.
So
if the county chooses to defer, we may certainly follow along that line if we care to. Yeah.
Correct, for consistency. Yep. So we have substantially completed the audit. Happy to report we are planning to issue an unmodified or clean opinion. I talked to you already about some of the significant accounting policies, so I'm going to turn it over to Melissa and let her walk you through a few of the other required communications.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. The other document that we're looking at is the report to the Audit and Internal Controls Committee. And if you take a look at page 1, which at the top says required communications, this takes us through our required communications based on our auditing standards. So it notes that we had an arrangement letter dated December 6, 2019, and that what our responsibilities were, and that and what management's responsibilities were. And we also communicated the scope and timing of our audit November 21st, 2019. Nothing from those communications has changed. We do note that we look at the accounting policies and practices and find that management's policies and practices are in line with expectations. As Jen mentioned, there was the adoption of those standards 83, 84, 88, and 90, which are noted here. We have not identified any significant or unusual transactions. We'll take you through the significant accounting estimates on a later page. We identified no audit adjustments. And if you go to the next page, we're not aware of any uncorrected misstatements. The next couple of items, we had no disagreements with management. We're not aware of consultations on accounting policies, no significant issues or difficulties. And the last item on this page just notes that we have provided a draft of the representation letter that is signed by management. There's no real changes to that year to year, with the exception of noting which GASB statements were adopted and which are waiting to be adopted.
Great.
And I think, Jen, if you want to go over the...
If I can just ask, this is good for a question for Carl, actually. Carl, when the representation from the auditor indicates that they're not aware of any consultation with another accounting firm, and by that, not our work with Albrecht, but any opinion shopping, I think it would be helpful for you to confirm that assumption that you indeed did not consult with other accounting firms on anything related to opinion shopping.
We didn't consult with any other accounting firms regarding opinions related to GASBs.
Great, thank you. Sorry, back to you, Melissa.
Yep. And this is Jen again. I'll just quickly talk you through the summary of significant accounting estimates that are in your financial statements. So the OPEB liability, which is just over $2 million. Of course, you have outside actuaries that assist management in developing that estimate. We use our internal actuaries to evaluate it, and we concluded that all of the estimates were reasonable this year. And then the fair value of interest rate swaps. Of course, you follow GASB 53, which is the derivative accounting. Just one thing I want to point out. Under GASB, the rules are a little different for those of you who may deal with derivatives in the FASB world, but the requirement is to test effectiveness at the end of each reporting period. So the derivatives were effective at 12/31/19. Management is not required to evaluate that again until 12/31/20. So there's nothing that impacts the financial statements. Of course, right now with everything going on in the markets, there could be changes in fair value of some of the items, which would impact an investment and a deferred balance on your financial statements, but there's nothing that requires additional disclosure in your financials related to this.
Great.
So that does conclude the required communications. As you know, we do always take this time just to update our inquiries if there are any other subsequent events that we need to be made aware of, if there are any other significant matters, fraud, allegations of fraud, et cetera, that needs to be brought to our attention.
I know of none. This is Chris. I know of none. Management can offer their thoughts only if in the contrary. I will also, just from our end, ask you to confirm that obviously you got full cooperation from management, answers to all of your questions, documentation in response to all of your requests.
Yes, we did.
Great. And of course, and for the record, and those who are either live or listening to this on replay, should that not be the case, you have redress through the audit committee or any board member in the event that you felt necessary to do so.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Do any other board members or committee or board members have any questions for RSM before we move the resolution? Great. Carl.
This is Howard Weitzman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
On note number 13, the subsequent event concerning the COVID virus, the way you have it worded, since the authorities, I'm reading from the note, since the authorities' requirements for debt service and operations were less than 12% of sales tax revenue, is it possible to change the language in some way to say that the coverage for the authorities' operations were 8 times?
Basically, the inverse.
I just think
I
just think it would be a little clearer.
Yeah, I think, Howard, there are financials, and the auditors can opine on them. So I think if management wanted to make that change, I don't know that the auditors would object, but we can propose that and have that reflected in the draft that gets executed.
Okay.
And it's Jen. I would echo that. Yes, you're permitted.
Yeah, it's just 1 over X, right?
Change that.
The inverse, right? It's 1 divided by
right.
12.
It just would seem to be a little clearer if you put the term coverage in there.
Right.
Yeah, if we look at page 7 of the financial statement, the second paragraph, we talk about the sales tax coverage. So we can take the language from that and incorporate it into the footnote.
I think that's fair.
Okay. Talk about
that gives you symmetry. That gives you symmetry and consistency. That's fair. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any objections by any other board member or audit committee member to that proposed change? Nope. Hearing none, I think we can consider that a friendly suggestion that management can work out with RSM between now and the production of the final financials.
No, I just wanted to prove that I read it.
I agree. No, I agree. Exactly. We were counting on that. Yeah. But, our agenda allows for an executive session. I don't feel the need for one with the auditors at this time. Do any other board members feel the need for an executive session with the auditors at this time?
Lester, I do not.
Okay. Hearing none from the committee or the board members, I think, Carl, can you walk us through the resolution that is 2F on our agenda, and then we can move that and go on with the rest of the agenda?
Yes.
I think it's with our board agenda. It might be with that. Let's see.
Right. Scrolling down.
Yeah, we're all working with a device here. I have it here too. So I need an audit committee member to move the item, which is resolution
20XX.
20-XX. Lester or Chairman Barsky, if either one of you could move or second that, we can move this to the full board.
Motion to...
Okay, Chairman Barsky moves it. Mr. Petraka, second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. I vote aye as well. And with thanks to RSM for another good year of service, and our compliments to you and your staff for your professionalism and your timely interaction with our finance team.
Thank you. We appreciate that, and we appreciate the opportunity to have worked with you again this year. So Stay safe, everyone. Be well, and we will see you again in the fall.
You bet. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Take care.
So with that, we move to item 3 on the agenda. Evan, you are going to present us with the statutory reports that emanate from the audit. Would you like to walk us through that?
Sure. So NYFA is required to annually issue numerous reports pursuant to the NYFA Act, the Public Authorities Law, the Public Authorities Accountability Act of 2005, and the Public Authorities Reform Act of 2009, a mouthful. So the 2019 annual report, which was distributed to all of you prior to the meeting, is one such report. The report briefly discusses the structure, mission, and accomplishments of the authority through December 31st, 2019. It also includes a summary of key litigation. There are also a number of attachments to the annual report that must be filed annually for compliance with the aforementioned laws and acts. And as listed in your committee materials, these reports include the authority's report on debt issuance. Of course, our annual financial statements are incorporated. The report on investments, a prompt payment report, procurement contract guidelines, property disposition report, our mission statement and measurement report, and our code of ethics. Now, for completeness, we also attached NYFA's bylaws at the end. Now, the report and those attachments are submitted to the committee for your review and recommendation that they be approved by the board at its next meeting, which is scheduled for tonight after the conclusion of this meeting.
Great. Thank you. And so there is, again, for the record, and those listening and those who may listen to this on playback, the members received this information in advance and had time to review it and consume it and are familiar with its contents. We have a resolution also entitled 20XX. Let's call that 20XX2 for this purpose. Would a member of the committee care to move that we pass that resolution with just the receipt and acceptance of these reports?
Motion moved.
Made by Chairman Barsky, seconded by Mr. Petracca. All in favor, aye.
Aye. Aye.
I vote aye as well. That motion and that resolution passes. We'll recommend that to the full board. Evan, on the next item, which is our investment guidelines.
Yes. So behind tab number 4 of your electronic copy of the committee materials, it contains the authority's investment guidelines. Now, these guidelines govern NYFA's investments, including the sale, monitoring, accounting, reporting, and internal controls by and of the authority. No changes are recommended at this time. However, they must be submitted and then approved by the board annually. So consequently, we are recommending that the investment guidelines be accepted by the committee now and then be forwarded to the board for approval at its next meeting after the adjournment which will take place after this audit committee adjourns.
Great, thank you. So we now have a third resolution, 20XX, we'll call that XX3. The receipt and acceptance of the investment guidelines. Would a member of the committee care to move that?
So moved.
Moved by Petracca, second by Barsky. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
I vote aye as well.
Aye.
The resolution passes and will be forwarded to the full committee. There's a last item on our agenda, which is a discussion item. Is that Carl or Evan? I'm sorry for that.
That will be
for me.
Okay, back to you. Go for it.
Okay, what you have immediately following the investment guidelines is a communication to the board with regard to the internal controls at NYFA. It's a status report of our internal controls, which is to be presented each year. In it, we note the steps taken to support our system of internal controls during the prior year. As a result of the steps that we took last year, we at the staff level are satisfied that our system of internal controls is effective in safeguarding assets that pass through our control and in detecting any errors in a timely manner. The purpose of this report is just to inform you of the status of our internal control system. There is no action that's required on your part. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions for Carl? Okay, hearing none, thank you for that advice. With that, we have a motion. We can make a motion to adjourn this committee and move to the full board meeting. Mr. Barsky, would you care to make that?
Motion.
Second by Mr. Petracca. All in favor, aye. I vote aye as well. The motion is carried, and the committee is adjourned at 6:21. And Mr. Barsky, you can convene the full board meeting at this time.
Thank you, Chris. So now we would like to begin the regular meeting of the Nassau County Interim Finance Authority, April 21, 2020. Before we move into the agenda, I would like to entertain a motion to move into executive session.
This is Chris Wright. I will move that we enter into executive session, at which time no actions will be taken, and we will return to the full board meeting or report.
The subject will be what the subject will be, Adam.
With that?
Adam, would you just briefly state what the subject is for the record of the executive session?
Matters that may involve litigation.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded. Got it. Mr. Chairman, I will move that we return from the executive session, and during which no actions were taken by the board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. We're back into the regular scheduled board meeting and start going through the agenda. First item of the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the directors' meeting on March 17th, 2020.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 2.
Mr. Chairman, at an earlier
you want to
meeting,
report out from the, to the...
Yep. At an earlier meeting of the Audit and Internal Controls Committee, the committee, with all members of the board present, who had an opportunity to ask questions and have them answered at that time, approved the receipt and acceptance of the audited financial statements of NIFA, and I move that we approve that resolution as a full board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Chairman, on item 3, at the same earlier meeting, the Audit and Internal Controls Committee unanimously approved the acceptance and receipt of reports required by the NIFA Act, the Public Authorities Law, the Public Authorities Accountability Act of 2005, and the Public Authorities Reform Act of 2009, and authorized the resolution in that regard, which I move the full board approve now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries.
Item 4,
Item
Mr. Chairman,
4.
at the same final comment from the Audit and Internal Controls Committee at that same meeting, the Audit and Internal Controls Committee, with the full board present and available to ask questions and have them answered, unanimously approved readoption of the authority's investment guidelines, and I move that we approve those as a full board at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Okay, this is Evan. For action
Item
items
5.
for 5, 6, and 7, the board may wish to consider them together. What they are, they're items, they're guidelines that must be approved by the board annually. We're recommending that no changes be made to them at this time. And I'll just very briefly describe each one. And for item number 5, the procurement contracts guidelines govern the authority's procurement contracts, which are agreements for the acquisition of goods and services of any kind. Item 6 is the property disposition contract guidelines, and they govern the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of contracts for the disposal of property. And action item 7 are the Code of Ethics, and they list the standards and principles of conduct that applies to the authority's employees, directors, and former employees. So those 3 items are guidelines are being submitted to the full board for approval.
I move we accept them in total.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item, item 8, the appointment of bond counsel.
This is Jeremy Wise, General Counsel. Briefly, because of large market fluctuations, county deficits, and an amendment to the NIFA Act, we've been constantly reevaluating our debt portfolio to see what we can do to assist the county, what new issues may be possible. In order to issue any new debt, we would need the approval of bond counsel, and so it is, in my opinion, worthwhile to hire bond counsel now so that we can work with them on these different scenarios. We're recommending Michael Burke to lead a group from the law firm of Norton, Rose, and Fulbright. We've worked with Michael and his team many times in the past, and we found them to be reliable and reasonable. That's all I have to say at this point, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Your motion?
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's hearing none. The motion carried. Next item on the agenda, item 9, is the consideration of the county contract for Facilico Civil, Inc.
Hi, this is Martha Worsham. So item 80-2020 is a contract with Facilico Civil, Inc. This contract is with the Department of Public Works. The vendor was selected through an open competitive bidding process. 4 other vendors submitted a bid. Facilico was the lowest responsible bidder. The not to exceed amount is $8,084,900, and the term is 180 days from the day of execution. The work scope of this contract is resurfacing roads throughout the town of Hempstead, and this is for phase 3 of the resurfacing project. The funding will be entirely through borrowing, and NIFA anticipates receiving a bonding request in the near future. Any bonding will require the approval from the NIFA Board of Directors. Any questions on this?
There are no questions. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 This is Howard Weissman. Please record me as abstaining on this vote.
Noted.
Noted.
That's 5-1. You pass.
5-0. I abstain.
Well, 5-0-1. Yep.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the consideration of county contract for Pratt Brothers, Inc.
This contract is also with the Department of Public Works. The vendor was selected through an open competitive bidding process, and Pratt Brothers was the only bid that the county received. The not to exceed amount is $16 million, and the term is 3 years with a 1-year renewal option. The funding for the renewal option is included in the not to exceed amount. The work scope of this contract is resurfacing roads throughout the towns of Hempstead, North Hempstead, and Oyster Bay, and the cities of Long Beach and Glen Cove. The funding will also be entirely through borrowing, and NIFA anticipates receiving a bonding request in the near future. Any bonding will require the approval from the NIFA Board of Directors. Any questions on this item?
And just to clarify, the $16 million includes all 4 years, including the option, right?
Correct.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve this contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining on this vote as well.
5-0-1. Passes.
Okay, motion, resolution passes, 5-0-1.
Yep.
Is there a motion for adjournment?
Made.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.